just trying to get up again.
We need to make these bigger.
That's a big string.
Yeah, I think it might be the. Okay, this zooms in, but we want it to zoom out. How to adjust. No. Let's see.
This is also the joining the common.
Oh, this is like sensitivity. Okay. 3 more minutes. Only the brave day to come out today. Too much enough. Yeah. You guys started working on the project, the ideas?
But we have I was many of this team.
Okay. Okay. What is the idea? What is the idea that you decided?
Well, every often forget to make many.
Yeah.
We make a reminder.
Okay.
Partly time.
Yeah. Okay. So like a smart toolbox. Okay. 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 What about you guys?
So application to manage sensors like CO2 sensor, and to give information about the amount of CO2 in the road and alert if you have to open the window.
Okay. So are you doing that monitoring the air quality in the room or the CO2? Are you doing that to monitor the air quality of the room?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I have a project that we are working with the Center for Environmental Respiratory Health in Seoul University. They want to try, we actually made an application for them to track asthma symptoms. And we are using this room tag, which is this small sensor that measures the temperature, the air pressure. It doesn't measure like CO2 levels. They're also looking at how much time people spend outdoors versus indoors and things like that. Are they exercising to monitor asthma symptoms and medication? Yeah. Have fun change affects everyone, so. Almost there. You made it, you made it. You made it.
Probably that time.
Ah, ja, zo zijn we. Heeft wel een
Ah, ja.
Okay, I guess we should get started. So today's class is going to be on multitasking on the go. I don't know if you have thought about multitasking before, but at least this class today will make you think about that. Okay. 3 more weeks to go. We are here. And after that, you don't need to wake up anymore on Monday morning. And then you will have roughly a month, 7 weeks, a little bit more than that actually, to just work on your project. During this time, feel free to email me and we can meet as many times as you want. Doesn't need to be on the time schedule of the class, so if you guys are having problems or anything or you need help, just let us know. We can meet, myself, the TAs, or anything, okay? So it's like, here, during this stage, it's more about the teamwork, and we will be there in case you get stuck on something, or if you're not sure about something, or you just want to talk about the project, we can help you with that, okay? Yeah, so almost there. Okay, so. So most people would use a computer to, use Word or work, Excel sheets and stuff like that. But nowadays you have so many applications that you can install in there. You can have apps and things like that, and games. And the same thing goes for smartphones. So in the old days, people would text and call, maybe play Snake. In the old days of Nokia, but that's it. But nowadays you can actually have a lot of things running in there all the time. And that kind of creates a bit of challenge for your brain to assess what is important at any given time. So actually, they say that compared to 1870s, the information you get in just one newspaper is more than what someone would get at that time in his whole life. So you can see the perspective of things. And then the thing is, the digital world, like cloud and everything, has grown like exponentially in the last 2 years. Like the amount of data everyone produces per day is estimated to be about 1 terabyte. And this is not direct production from you, but everything, the traces that you create everywhere. So you go to Facebook, that creates a log, and then that log goes to somewhere. All of that data combined, it accounts on average to 1 terabyte per day. And then also the way how people communicate has changed. If you think about it, like the way we speak also has evolved over time. And also that means that you are able to express and communicate more things than what you used to. There's a snippet in there. So Shakespeare at that time, when he wrote, like the Romeo and Juliet, for example, there's actually 450,000 more words than what it used to be in English. But that's just English alone. We borrow language words from other languages. Like Finnish does that a lot. Portuguese does that a lot. And then it seems that, we have a hard time to let it go. We are always connected. We always want to know what's going on. And so, yeah, you end up having situations like this. In reality, if we now talking more seriously, they actually did a survey that actually found that it's very common for you to actually use your phone while you watch TV. So, for example, they saw here, for example, while you're in a daily basis. So if you think about it, you spend 34% of your time in social media. This is on average. And there's a report there if you want to see that. That's a smartphone, that's a tablet. But you can clearly see that social media has taken over. And it's very common for people to be watching a TV or something like that and then go into social media and comment on that same TV show, for example. Things like The Voice of Finland and things like that. You see that a lot. And then if you see this, like for example, messaging, it's actually shrunk. And they don't even have here like phone calls. It's almost like phone calls have decreased a lot. And the reason for that is that nowadays you can call using WhatsApp or Facebook. So I'm not so sure about the source of the data. So if they accounted for that, but anyway. And then there's this thing here, for example, they did a survey where actually 85% of the respondents actually, they feel stress and even unease whenever they let go of their phone and they don't know what's going on. So I have an experiment to do. I just want you to turn on the volume of your phones so that it's not muted. Let's see how many notifications you get just during the class. Okay? So just to show you a point. Okay? We can do that. Just do that. Just enable the sound, and we're just going to count. Can you keep counting? So don't mute it, just leave the notifications on. So just raise your hand every time you see a notification on your phone. We're just doing an experiment. Okay. Yeah, so last year we had 69. One. I heard something in there. Okay? All right. So I have a question. Do you know how you multitask on your phone? How many of you actually use multitasking functionality of your phone? Or do you just use one app at a time?
Between two screens on the same side?
Yeah, for example. Do you do that regularly?
When I need to.
Okay. Okay. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, so there's a functionality on Android and also on iOS that actually allows you to multitask. So I will show you how it used to be done, and then I will show you how it's done right now on my phone. Oops.
99% of the time, people only select an app within the last 7. We decided to simplify by automatically removing apps in the list that you haven't used in a while. This then makes it much easier to find the app that you're looking for. Also, based on popular demand, we finally added a clear all button at the top. Yeah, feels good. But my absolute favorite feature is something that we call Quick Switch. You can now flip to the previous app you're in just by double tapping the Recents button from anywhere. You can think of it like a simplified Alt-Tab. And it's amazingly useful in so many situations. For example, let's say I'm in a phone call and I'm trying to coordinate an event. I can flip over to the calendar app I was just in by double tapping the Recents button at the bottom right. From there, I can check my schedule, and then flip back to the dialer by double tapping the Recents button again. It's pretty cool. Now, many of you have also asked for the ability to display more than one app at the same time. So we've invested a lot of effort in redesigning our window management framework in N. And we're introducing 2 powerful new windowing modes in this release: split screen and picture-in-picture. Split screen is designed for tablets and phones, and it's really simple to use. So for example, let's say I'm watching a video on YouTube to learn how to make the best nachos. I can long tap on the recents button to enter multi-window, and from there launch something like Google Keep, for example. Now I can update my shopping list for ingredients while I'm watching the video. The second mode, picture-in-picture, is designed for Android TV. And it's a great way to let you keep watching something while you perform another task. For example, let's say I'm watching a live TV program on retro gaming, and they're talking about Pac-Man, and I want to see if I can install and play the game myself. I can put the live content into picture-in-picture mode to keep watching it, and then go ahead and perform a voice search for Pac-Man. This will then give you an option to install the game from the Play Store all at the same time as watching the content. It's pretty cool.
So that's a gist of it. So if you have a more recent phone, so I have the OnePlus 6T, and multitasking actually looks a bit different. Let me just show you real quick. Let's hope this works. Looks like my computer is not being allowed to connect here. Yeah, I need to make sure that we are on the same network. No, we're not. All right. Okay, so this is my phone, basically, what you're looking at. And what you'll notice is that my phone actually does not have the bottom bar at all. And the way this works is that OnePlus has actually made it so that the screen would occupy as much as the screen itself. So there's no borders in there. And then you still have the notifications on the top. So this still works in there. But for me to go back to, let's say, the home page, you do like the newest iOS also. So you just swipe from the bottom and it goes back. Okay? For me to be able to multitask, for example, I would have to go, for example, the messages, and I would have to go all the way to the middle like this. And then if I would let it go, it actually shows a deck of cards where I can just go back and forth between. And then if I want to pick a specific application, I would just tap it and it would open it. If I want to get over all of the apps, I would just go to the middle again, so like that, and then press the X and it would just kill everything. So instead of like the other kind that you have to scroll through all of them and then hit the clear button, this one is always here. So for example, let's say that we open an app. I'll just open the browser and I open a website, for example. Let's open Tesla. And then I want to go back. So how do I do that? There's no back button. And so the way they did it is that if I swipe only a little bit on either side, whether on the right or on the left, so if I do just this on the side, it actually goes back. So if I wanted to go to multitasking, I go all the way to the middle. But if I want to go back, I just do a small swipe in there. And that's how they engineered it. You get used to it, but for someone who has never used it, this is a huge problem because you won't know how to use it. My wife, for example, sometimes she asks my phone and she's like, how do I get out of here? So anyway, so this is just a demo of how this is. And depending on the OS you have, you'll have more or less the same functionality that you saw on the other one. I'm just checking here if this is still recording. Yeah, it is still recording. Okay. So this multi-window was introduced in Android N, so that's version 7. Before that, you only had the double tapping of the recent apps. That allows you to toggle between the last 2 apps. So you have an app and you go back to the previous one and then you go back to the next one. to split the screen only starting Android N, you can do that, okay? And not all the devices do that. So for you to activate that, you press and hold the square button, and that will trigger the multiple window. Not all apps support it, and you will get a toast, which I'm actually going to talk about that today. You will get a toast that will tell you that this app does not support multiple windows. So iOS also has something similar. So I can show you.
So let's start here on my iPad. And what I'm going to do first is double tap on the home button. You'll see our new app switcher. Really gorgeous. Big, full screen previews of all the apps. Just move right into Safari like this. But of course, often when I'm in an app like Safari, I just want to quickly check my messages. So now, with just a single finger swipe from the side, I can slide it right in with what we call slide over. And of course, it's fully interactive right here. I can take a look, maybe type a response, put it right back. I'm back in Safari. You do that again. Now from the top, I can pull down and bring in other applications. So let's bring in Calendar. Of course, fully interactive, so I can tap into another day. Let's bring in another app. I'm going to bring in the new Notes app, just like that. Now, sometimes, of course, I want to stay working in Notes and Safari, both at the same time. So I can just tap here on the divider, and now I'm in split view. They're both completely active. In fact, for the first time ever, multi-app, multi-touch. I can move them both at the same time. Now, Notes is actually pinned to the side now, so I want to show you what happens when I switch apps. I'm just going to move over here, Photos, and you notice now I have Photos with Notes on the side. This is really great if I'm taking notes while working across a bunch of different experiences. And of course, those four-finger gestures continue to work great, so I can just swipe my way right back into Safari like that. I can follow links, of course, from my notes. Let me just tap on this link, and you see Safari loads it right here on the side. Now I can adjust this split, so let me just move that over to a nice 50-50 view with Notes and Safari. And I can tap on links to other apps. So let's follow a link into Maps. See, Maps just, oh, I really want location accuracy. Thank you, very helpful. So, slides right in and shows me the location. I can follow another link, and you see Maps adjust. I'm able to just stay focused right here in these two apps side by side. And let's say I want to now work on Notes full screen. Just pull right across like that, and I'm in full screen Notes. Now, this gives me a great opportunity to show you what's new with the QuickType keyboard. So I have a to-do list I'm building here. And I'm just going to add an item here to buy a new ice chest. There we go. But you know, on second thought, I think I should probably borrow one. So I'm just going to take two fingers down on the keyboard and just swipe over here. I can reposition the cursor like that, tap and make a selection, extend the selection, and type borrow. It's really easy. You can make bigger moves too. I go to the top here, maybe select the whole sentence.
All right. Some of these features we already have on Android, but some of them they actually engineered it in a better way, I believe. So the fact that you can actually choose, like if you have a split screen and you can choose and swipe only one side of the screen, keep the other side of the screen still the same. That's something, for example, Android cannot do. You can only have two screens and then that's it. You're stuck to that unless you take over. So you can actually increase one of the screens so that it does the same, so it takes over the screen, the whole screen, but then you cannot do what they did. For example, if you had two windows, one showing the calendar, the other one showing your email, and then you want to check a location, you're screwed because you cannot. You need to go back to the home screen and then open the location, and go back again and do the split screen. And you see, it's a bit clumsy in that way. So they thought about that better. Of course, this is an iPad, so there's more screen estate, but it didn't really translate if you have an Android tablet. It also doesn't do the same thing. But anyway, some people might think I'm a bit biased for Android, but you know, you have to give credit where it's due. So it's yeah. Anyway.
Like you said, these are still limited.
Yes, they are. They are
limited multitasking.
Yeah.
Always is, but Symbian was real one.
Yeah.
So like it said, That was it.
Mm.
It was first time ever, but it wasn't.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Well, for Apple, it's always the first time. So pushing the limits. So Samsung, for example, has been thinking about Android and how do you go beyond the screen measures and the screen limitations. And so I don't know if you've seen the DeX. You ever tried it? So DeX is basically a small hub, basically, where you can actually put your phone in there, and basically the device, the phone, creates a desktop experience for you. And you can use your mouse, you can use your keyboard, you can use the screen. So something similar to this, what I actually have today here. So this is a dock that has USB-C, and it allows me to plug in external peripherals. So I can plug in a USB keyboard, a USB mouse, and it will work. And this has USB-C, which this one also has USB-C, which means that I can actually use the same features that are here to this. So if you've never seen it, I will show you how it works.
That's all about is harnessing the power of the S8 device and extending this to this desktop environment, right? Larger screens, keyboard, and mouse. It's really about something simplicity and convenience. So really, really excited to show you it in action. So it really starts again with the S8 device. But as well, we have the DeX station, right? So I'll pass this around so you can take some pictures of it. But this is what enables the experience in terms of connectivity to your larger screen, keyboard and mouse. There's USB Type-C charger, HDMI, 2 USB 2.0 ports, and a wired Ethernet connection. And you can actually slide it up and charge it from that way as well. So not a hockey puck, it's a DeX station. So it's a really simple experience. Picture this, my home office, or maybe it's a hot desk at work. I have my S8 device. I simply can dock it into the DeX station. And in a few seconds here, you'll see the Samsung DeX experience load on the big screen. Loads up. And we'll see it presented with my lock screen. What's great in terms of a simple and convenient way to access your desktop experience is I can, of course, type a password in. I can also use the biometric authentication for introducing in the S8 device. In this case, I use face recognition. I can just click here, look at my phone, and it'll log into my desktop experience. Seamless right into the desktop experience. When I get my desktop experience, what you'll see here is that it's optimized, right, for the bigger screen keyboard and mouse input. It's not just a blown up mirrored version of what's on the phone. It's actually taking advantage of all the screen real estate. You have the ability to organize and customize the look and feel of where you want the applications. You can even customize the wallpaper to whatever look and feel you want. And we're providing this paradigm of obviously, making you productive with your applications, right? So on the bottom left-hand corner is my app tray, right? So these are actually all the applications that are available on my S8 device. And on the bottom right here, you'll see that there's my notifications and settings panels. So I'm going to do different configurations for settings and options here. And what's also really great about the desktop experience is we want to make sure we provided multi-window support with all the ability to resize the windows. So in this case, I have a Samsung Internet browser. So we can see here when I load up this website, I can actually freely move the window around the desktop.
Anyway, so you got the idea. So I'm trying to get this thing to be full screen, but for some reason there's no shortcut. Okay. Okay. So that's one of the ideas where you buy external kind of dock where you can actually plug in things through the USB of your phone, and then extend what you can do in terms of the desk, like as a desktop, the interface from the launcher of your phone. So Samsung tried to market this as an exclusive feature for the S8, and then now the S9 and the newest ones, they also have support for this kind of mode if you buy that thing. So that thing is about 200 and something euros that you can buy. But yeah, for some people, it's easier to carry around the phone than it is to carry around the laptop. And if you think about computation and what you can do with it, I mean, you do a lot of stuff already on your smartphone, so why would you have to carry around like a bulky laptop when you can reply to emails and stuff like that in something like this? But of course, this assumes that you have somewhere a screen and a keyboard and a mouse for you to use, right? So there's another company called Sentio, and they actually thought something different. They thought about having a laptop where actually the brains of the laptop is your phone. So you actually have this whole thing, but inside there's no CPU, there's nothing like that. It's quite interesting. And so they have this shell, let's call it this way, that basically pairs with your phone.
Your smartphone has your whole life on it. It's your point of connection to the people and world around you. It's also an incredibly powerful computer. The speed and power of our smartphones rarely hold us back, but the small screens and limited interface often do. Introducing the Superbook, a simple plug-and-play device that turns your Android smartphone into a beautiful laptop computer. Just connect your phone using a USB cable. The Superbook provides the keyboard, multi-touch trackpad, and display, and your smartphone brings the computing power along with your files and apps. And of course, the Superbook can use your smartphone's data, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth connectivity. The Superbook has over 8 hours of battery life, and it even charges your smartphone. It works with all modern Android devices, and it's future-proof. When you get a new smartphone, it'll still work with your Superbook. It's like getting a brand new laptop every time you upgrade. The Superbook is powered by Sentio, an app that makes Android function like a familiar desktop operating system. You get a mouse cursor, keyboard shortcuts, desktop class browsing, and easy file management. And your favorite apps from the Play Store work great with Sentio. So get a Superbook today and experience the future of computing for yourself.
So some believe actually this is the way that things will change, where you actually, not that you would buy a laptop shell, but the fact that you have everything in your phone and you could just plug it into anything and you have the resources around you. So things like, for example, your desktop at your work or something like that, where you would have just plug in your phone, basically your apps are there, your data is there, everything's there. And anyone can do this. Today you're there, someone else comes there, plugs it in. You still have the same hardware, but the software inside is powered by your phone. So that's another way to see how computing is truly becoming mobile. So another one is Remix. So Remix, unfortunately, was discontinued. I was actually, I have a previous product of them. It's called the Remix Mini, which is basically an Android desktop device. But this one would do something similar to the Sentio, where you would just plug in your phone and have a small block in there that basically created the interface with the screen. Unfortunately, they are not longer making it. The company was bought and then they discontinued the product.
Introducing Remix Singularity, the latest innovation in Remix OS that finally unleashes the power of Android. Dock your phone with Remix Singularity into a modern laptop and experience everything that Remix OS has to offer. Streamline multiple window multitasking, full keyboard and mouse optimization. All bundled in a user experience designed to give you everything you want and need in a new OS you already know. Power your life with Remix OS Mobile.
So what's the problem with these solutions? So if you think about it, the problem with these solutions is that they always require dedicated hardware, right? They always need to buy a dock or buy something so that you can actually leverage this. So actually, there's another company that decided to go the software route, and this actually has a Finnish name, so it's called Lena OS. And literally, this is a launcher for your phone. So the same way I did the screen casting, I can launch this, do the screen casting, and using the browser, actually, I have the whole desktop from my phone, through my phone, without any other external hardware, basically. I can use my laptop, I can use my keyboard, everything works. So if you're curious, you should give it a go and try it. so that you can see like what can you actually do in terms of, you know, what the phone does. Yeah, so this is one of them that is software-based. I will give you a small demo of that so you can see it. So it works similar to what you would expect. So you have your applications. This is running directly on the phone itself. File manager, what you would expect. This is actually quite powerful because I was trying it, and you can actually open Word, for example, and drag a file from the file manager into Word, and you just add it there. And things like right click and things like that also work. So it also allows you to zoom in. So if you're thinking about the keyboard and mouse, pinching to zoom doesn't work. So the way they do it is you press Control and then you use the scroll of your mouse and you will zoom in and out on the interface. And it's quite amazing like how fast that thing works because, you know, it's streaming the video, for example, to your computer. So it's actually quite okay. And the sounds it makes, you actually listen it on your computer, through your computer speakers, and not through the phone, which is quite interesting. All right. So that's Lana OS. So why people and companies are focusing a lot on multitasking? So I think it's also that, you know, we are trying to do more. We are using technology to do more than what you could do in the old days. In the old days, you left the office, that's it. End of the day, you couldn't work anymore, you are not reachable except if someone called you. And so basically it allows you to offload things. So for example, you can start something here, go home, and resume it at home. And you don't need to worry about it. Basically, you're offloading the task to somewhere later. So, or somewhere when it's more convenient for you, okay? The other thing is that, you know, if you think about multiple devices, the other thing is you want to know when things are done, right? So if you say you put some script running or analysis running on your computer here, you would want to know like when it's finished so that you can resume it later, for example. So there's this love and hate relationship between engineers and network. And the reason for that is that in the past, network was very pricey. Like for you to have access to the internet was like ridiculously expensive, also slow, and unreliable. But nowadays, you have Wi-Fi everywhere, you have 5G or 4G on your phone. And so we are highly connected nowadays. And so that means that, you know, we make this assumption that the network is stable. But the fact is it's not. And you will see that a lot of the time, though. Sometimes you will see that and you try to save a document or something like that. If you're using Dropbox or Google Drive, it will fail. It will say like, an error occurred, please try again. And so the rule of thumb here is that when you're making your application, always assume the worst, okay? Because otherwise, if you always assume, oh, there's always going to be internet, or it's going to save the data into the cloud, or it's going to put it on the database, I can guarantee you it will fail. At some point, it will fail. Because people, you know, they enable airplane mode, or they are in a very sketchy Wi-Fi area, or they don't have signal. And these things you should take into consideration when you're designing for error, okay? And then there's, if you think about software engineering side, if something happens out of your sight, it's out of your mind. So things like, for example, updating your Gmail on your phone. How many of you have noticed that right now you actually don't get any loading screen in Gmail? So Gmail nowadays, what they do is they keep fetching whether or not there's a change in your emails, and they do that in the background without telling you. Okay? And so basically, every time you go to Gmail, you know for sure you have the latest up-to-date information. And so there's no point, and I've seen this happen a lot, there's no point in opening Gmail and then scrolling to ask it to refresh because you're not doing anything. Because the app is already taking care of that. And so if you think about your application in the future or your project, you should do that, because that means that you are taking into account the fact that these devices can do stuff in the background. You don't necessarily need to tell the user all the time, like, oh, I'm updating this, I'm updating this. I mean, that gets really tiring for the user. And it's better user experience in general if every time they go there, they know that, okay, this is up to date. Okay? So here's a vision video from LG where they think about, how do you do multitasking in the future when you're working and you have a desktop and you have other things around you.
The birth of display was the beginning of a new world. In the world that was revealed by the display, we saw a brighter future. We have turned imagination into reality. We have finally opened up a new realm of innovation for OLED after overcoming numerous challenges through our passion. We will make this new world of values that rise above the technology we have known so far. Display, which broke away from the limits of form, more freely overcame the hindrances of expression to expand the value of beauty into a realm of creation close to an art. While substituting for familiar functions and emotions, we are continuing to imagine through infinity. A window of communication which allows mutual understanding beyond the visible world. It always leads us to selecting the best by swiftly reacting, even at unexpected moments. The unlimited evolution of technology turns all imagination to a display into reality. Our old dreams of getting desired information have just all been realized by wearable devices. More satisfactory routines are made to be enjoyed by always providing optimum conditions. Furthermore, our desired values are provided anywhere and anytime through thinner and lighter forms. Interface without gap between humans and technology. As OLED technology enters into our environment and forms, our work in life will be made anew even further. And at the end of all the changes, our dreams will be realized.
This might seem a bit too futuristic, but a lot of these things actually already exist
Although
today.
the display is evolving ceaselessly, Our never-changing values will continue to be projected toward human beings. A sheet of display will wrap around even our hearts and contain values of communication and healing to get us closer to fulfilling our dreams. An amazing and precious experience where desires are unfolded and all emotions in that space are conveyed through the 5 senses.
All right. So you got the idea. So last year, when I presented this, the students were like, "Oh, well, we're still far from that." Actually, this year, the Samsung and also OnePlus have already announced foldable displays, where the screens actually bend and things like that. And Microsoft also has a prototype, the Surface phone, that also does foldable display. And they also announced over last year the Microsoft Surface Wall, which is basically what you saw before, where it's like the whole wall is a screen where you can have chats and stuff like that and interact with things. And there's also tables and things like this. Have you seen the Surface Studio? It's like the whole screen goes flat, and you can draw and do all sorts of things in there. So take a look at that. But anyway, so last year this was seen as like, it's here, it's happening. So we're not that far, okay? So here's a demo, for example, from a company, Bowie, who has released this tech just last year, or 3 years ago actually, and this year is now starting to be commercialized on devices. So this thing, probably in the future, actually can fold into multiple. So you can actually have a tablet size or a screen size, or roll it up, and you can just put it on your backpack and that's it. You can watch it and go all around your list, for example. So I guess we didn't hear that much. I wasn't paying attention. So last year we had about 69 notifications during the time of the class. And everyone was just laughing because, I was trying to teach and show these videos and we could just hear like. But anyway, I guess it's just that it's Monday morning. It's very early. Wait until your pals wake up and then WhatsApp will go nuts. So anyway, I had here a coffee break. Just that thing only opens at 9:15, and last year it was opening at 8:30. So we can continue a little bit, and then we can just take a break if you want to have some coffee. So I'm going to switch now a bit. So this was more motivation in the beginning, and now we'll talk about how you do certain things in Android and iOS in terms of the multitasking, okay? Like programming-wise or engineering-wise. So I'll start with the Android. So I talked about intents. Have you, in the labs, you guys started services, activities using intents? Have you done that yet? Valerie, did you do any exercise doing intents?
We did the first exercise and we tried to split the activities. Okay,
so you use intents for that. Don't skip the labs, because those you will get a lot of hands-on on how to do these things, okay? Try to come to the labs. It's at noon tomorrow, so it's okay to wake up if possible. I just got a notification. So an intent is basically a request for the operating system to start something. An intent can be either to launch a background activity, a background service, or launch actually another app. Okay. So for example, you can use an intent to ask the camera app that you have on your phone, take a picture and then return that picture for you to use on your app. You don't need to implement from scratch a camera app to take a picture, okay? In the intent, you have two things that you can do. So one of them is the action. So what is it that you want to do? And that is a string. A lot of them actually are open. So I mentioned this before. There's this thing called open intent that you can Google for, that companies, when they make an app and they want other apps to use their app, for example, Spotify, you can actually leverage those actions to trigger things like change music and things like that from your app. So you don't need to open Spotify, for example. And the extra basically is a way to send data. So like a variable and a value between your app and the application and vice versa. So the same way that you ask, take a picture using the camera app and give me back the photo that you took, basically that comes to your app as an extra with the data, okay? And this can be used for activities. This can be used for broadcasts. I mentioned this before, but broadcasts are basically messages that any app can listen to, okay? Including the operating system. So they have broadcasts that you can send that the operating system reacts, things like changing the volume, things like that. And you also have, the operating system also sends broadcasts for the apps. So the operating system tells the apps, for example, that it's running out of memory, or that it's about to shut down, and things like that, where you then can take preventive measures not to lose data, things like that, okay? And then there are two kinds of services that you can start. So there's the intent services and then there's services. I will talk about the difference between those two. So this is how a service looks like. In a nutshell, it's a class that has the most important methods is onCreate. So that's when the instance of the service starts. And this is when you actually receive an intent with an action. Okay, so if you see here, the onCreate doesn't do anything. So it just instantiates the object and then it's there waiting. And then when you actually send it an intent with an action, you would actually go here. Okay, there's other methods like onDestroy. So what happens when it's destroyed by the operating system, onRestart and things like that. But in general, the service itself, the flow it goes is onCreate and then waits for onStart command for things to happen. And you can actually, once you have instantiated the service, you can actually have different commands. So things like change for the next music, go back to the previous music, increase the volume, decrease the volume. All of that can be monitored by just one service that is just there waiting for things to happen. Okay. And then this is a copy of the. So this is how you get, like, for example, a number that is sent as a variable. In this case, the name of the variable was just this var new, and the value is 0 if it exists, and if it doesn't exist, it just gives you the default, the 0, 1. So this is how you would send, for example, start a service where you would put new var as a variable, as data. Okay? So that's the extra. So you can put a value in there and then just start the service. And when this service starts, you will check what is this number that you sent. So that's here. And I will retrieve that value. So this value would actually be 123. If you call this start service without putting this extra here, you would get the value 0. Is that clear? So the difference between a service and an intent service is that it runs in different frames. So what happens in the application? So if you have an app and you start a service, basically that service normally is only in place while your app is active. Once you go out of the app, like if you kill it, the service is gone. And that also means that, for example, if you do a network operation, say connect to a service online to retrieve data and then return that to your phone, actually Android is going to complain to you because you should not do that in the same thread that the app is running. It will actually ask you to do that in the background. And the best way to do that is to use this intent service. So the intent service, you ask it to do something, you will do it on the background, and then when it's done, you will get your app, again, will get the signal that it's done, okay? And so it is safe to do network operations there, because things can go wrong, like, server might be down, or it might take longer than what you expect. So for example, let's say you were building Gmail. You will never, ever, ever do check for new emails while the person is looking at the screen, because that will just freeze the whole interface until the network returns the result. And you'll find this, if you try to do this on your app where you need to retrieve data from a server online, and you use a service, you'll see your interface is going to freeze until it actually returns, okay? So if you see this on your application, I will tell you, please take a look at that. Or I will tell you, okay, just use an intent service or an async task, but that's another way to do it. But anyway, and all of this has to do with the multitasking. Because, when the user is using the app, they want to use the app. They don't care about what's going on in the background. And what I said, out of sight, out of mind. So we don't want to burden the user to know, like, okay, there's stuff that I need to happen. You don't care about it. You only care about the app, but, here you go. I will freeze your interface. You can't do anything until I'm done. I'm not going to do that. That's very bad.
So was that in the new index? Was it now index service or service?
This one is actually a service. This one is a service. I don't have an intent service here.
Okay.
The on-intent service, it's actually the method is not on-start command, but it's on-handle intent. It changes, but the structure is they both work the same. The only difference is that on the service you have on-create and on-start, and on the intent service you have on-handle intent. You don't even have on-create, and they are meant for doing these things like on the background and then returning back to the interface. Okay, but this becomes a little bit more clear when you start actually programming things.
So iOS has organically implemented this model.
Yes, Yuki will mention that. So this is intent service. You were asking about intent service. So it only has this method, on-handle intent. This is just a constructor, so it's not on-create or anything. So it's just a constructor where you can actually specify the name of that background service. So if you go to your task list on Android, it will show up with this name, what you put in there. But in there's only one method. So that's this on-handle intent. And then depending on your intent action, you can do multiple things. So in this case, like for example, fetch data from the server, something like that. Okay?
Can I play music and then check calendar at the same time?
Yes. Yes. Because they will be run in different threads, so that's fine. That should be okay.
For some reason, my YouTube now doesn't play it.
But that's YouTube wanting you to pay the premium service.
Oh.
You get that if you pay the premium service. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Sometimes I want to hear some music and I have on YouTube, and then you turn off the screen, that's it. YouTube is gone, you don't hear anything. But if you pay for the premium service, you do. It works, it continues working. Sorry?
In iPhone, it wasn't possible in the beginning nowadays.
I don't know. Can you leave a music, like a video playing on YouTube and turn off the screen and it will still continue playing?
Yeah. But not YouTube, just.
Not YouTube. I would be surprised that the iPhone would allow that and Android would not, but yeah.
Just play music is fine.
Yeah.
From the phone, but no YouTube.
Yeah. So for example, here's another example here. So what if you want to do something in the background, but you don't necessarily need to specify this extra with data, and you just want to do with an action. So you can do that like that. So you have an intent where you specify which service is it that you want to run, and what is the action you want it to do. So in this case, fetch data, and then you just start the service. So there's no data here. It's just the action. Okay? So you can do that too. So then in your code, depending on the action, then you can do what you need. And like I said, Android itself also has a bunch of these open intents that you can use to control your phone, things like mute your phone, set the ringer mode, and things like that, that they are ready for you. You don't need to implement this yourself. Okay? Another way to do this, and this is mostly for activities. So these are asynchronous tasks. So this things like changing the color of a button, or refreshing what you're looking at, or sorting the order of elements, things like that. Things that are more visible to the user, okay? And normally these happen as an asynchronous task. So it's not something that will happen. The difference between the service and the independent service is that it can take a long time, right? You don't know when it's going to be done. The async task assumes that you will get it done in like 5 seconds or something like that. It's more meant for real-time updates of the interface itself. And in here there are 4 methods. So on pre-execute. So if you, let's say, you have data on the database, you need to retrieve that first. So that would be there. And then while it's doing its thing, update it, you can publish progress. So if you want to do like how many records have you gone through in the processing, you can use that method called publish progress, and it will call this on progress update. And then in this case, I'm just doing a toast, which is like a dialogue that overlays on your screen that just says, okay, I'm on number X, and just keeps updating that. If you copy paste this into an app, this doesn't do anything except do a counter. So you can call this, like for example, like that, new long operation, execute 10. This will actually count from 1 to 10, and that's it. So if you want to try copy paste this code to see what it does, that's what it does. It just goes from 0 to 10. But the good thing about these is that you can actually do multiple. You can call the same async task with multiple parameters. I don't know if you noticed this. I don't know if you're familiar with Java. So when you have this 3 dots in there, this means that it can have 1 or more of the same kind of parameter, so integer. So in here, if I'm calling this 3, 4, and 100, you would actually call this task first for 3, so it would count to 3, then for 4, and then for 100. So let's say that you would want to do an async task that all it would do would be, speak aloud someone's name or your contact list. You could do an async task that would go through all your contacts one by one and just say their name. Okay? So basically what this does is a queue of tasks. So you can set multiple. The same way they have this here, you can do the same for your function. So when you make a function in Android or Java, and you want to support multiple parameters, so you can call the same function with this parameter and this another parameter. If it's the same kind, you can do that. In the old days, people would just use like these arrays, where you would have a parameter which was an array of values and then do the same. On Java, and also in Kotlin, you can also do it like this. So, let me see. It's 9:15. I think the coffee place has just opened. Let's do a small break, okay? Go get some coffee, and we'll be back, okay? Like 5 minutes,
Just go grab some coffee and back. Yeah. I'll get some.
Sulla on kyllä tosi vahva mieli. Kolmas meitä selkässä. Mulla on se mieli jääkö jo muodissa.
Voisi kysyä, mitä mielestäni perinteisen Onko perinteisen vaan olla muistunut harjoitus?
Ja Vivillä on
Yes, in the beginning, yes. Yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree. Okay.
Joo, mä Taisin kyllä juttuja kalviin.
Sorry?
Got fluent in sleep at night.
You should go sleep. Go home.
I grabbed all the documents for UK visa.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll go to apply on Thursday, so I'll go to.
You sent a message about the book in Swift? Yeah.
It's about general way to develop policy competition and market itself and use sort of Swift yeah.
Okay. Yes, yes, yeah. Okay. So we're just missing Yuha. We'll wait a bit.
There's some people missing in the back. Just waiting. Yeah. Okay. Just wait a bit. So without spying the slides, what is the biggest challenge for multitasking? Sorry? Hard to utilize the resources. Close, but not exactly what I had in mind. Don't go spy the slides.
Human brain.
Yes. You're learning. Exactly. The human. Us. We are the biggest challenge for multitasking. So notifying the user, keeping you up to date, letting you know that something is happening. And so Android, they actually provide different mechanisms to let you know that something is happening and to keep you up to date. So toasts are a temporarily visible message, and it's not interactive. You can't do anything with it. It just shows a piece of text, and that's it. A notification is what you're mostly used to. So it will just show you a notification, you get this beep, and then you can go there and you see it, that something is happening. Alert dialogues are what we call showstoppers. It's like, please stop everything you're doing, you need to read this message. It's like error messages kind of style of thing. And you can also use it to prevent the user from doing anything while you're loading something. Google themselves and the material design, they say don't do that. Never, ever stop the user from interacting with your app if you're doing something in the background. If you're doing something in the background, keep that in the background. Don't prevent the user from doing what he's doing. But it might be useful for things like delete. And you're like, are you sure you want to delete this? And then the user says, okay, and that's it. Okay? So in those cases, it's fine to use alert dialogues, but don't use alert dialogues to show like a loading screen. Because like that's a no-no. There's these snack bars. So snack bars have become very popular recently. And basically this is the same as the toast, so a temporarily visible message. However, it does allow like actions. You see this in play when you open Gmail on your phone and you delete an app. You'll see, or you send an app, you'll see there's a snack bar. It's a small message that appears on the bottom. It will ask you to undo or cancel before it actually sends the email and things like that. Okay? So that's how you code a toast. You call the class, make text, you give your app context, you put the message, and you say for how long do you want this toast to be visible. The length can be short, which is about 4 to 5 seconds, but it can also be long, and that's like 10 seconds. Okay. Don't forget to call show. I've seen students code that, programming it, and then they forget to call it the show method, and then basically nothing appears, and you're wondering like what happened. So the other thing that you need to pay attention is text. The amount of text you can put in a toast is limited. So it's about 100 characters. So if you put anything more than that, it's just going to eat it up. It's not going to show. Okay? And that's how it looks like. Just kidding. So a toast looks like that. So it's just a small dialogue. I'm pretty sure you've seen these in the apps. And then nowadays, most apps actually are not using these anymore. This is phasing out. They're just using the snack bar that appears on the bottom. Or they just don't show these anymore because this is information that a lot of times is things like being successful and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, you know, it's extra information you don't need. And then you have notifications. I mean, everyone's familiar with notifications, but one thing that has changed in recent years is actually the fact that you can actually add actions to your notifications. So the notifications in the old days were mostly meant for messaging. like tell you something has happened or something is running or things like that. But now you can actually take action on those notifications. Problem with Android is that you have so many versions of Android, and starting Android 4, actually things got a bit out of hand. So much so that Google had to create what we call builder design pattern, which literally what it does is it makes it easy for you to create a notification where Android itself changes how the notification is going to look like to fit the operating system the application is running. Okay. Here's an example of that, how you do that. So in this case, I created an intent to know that we'll call a class basically that will trigger if the user interacts with the notification. Okay, if the user taps the notification, I want that intent to be fired, and then basically we need to assign that to a pending intent. So that means that it's something that is going to happen in the future. So when the user taps the notification, and that's the notification I want it to happen. You can see here the name is intent, so that's the same name that is there. And this is how you build a notification. So this part here is how you build it. So you create an object called notification, but then you use the builder to do it. Okay, so new notification builder. And this is the context. This get application context on Android. You can just use this for a shorthand, makes it easier. You set the content title, so that's this thing here on the top. You set the content text, so that's what appears here. And then you can even add icons. So you can have a small icon, so that's the icon that appears on the notification when it's still hidden on the top. And when you expand it, you can set also a large icon. So for example, in this example, we have someone's picture. And then you can set here what happens when you tap it. So that's that pending intent that I created right there. Okay. And then you have two things that Android actually allows you to do. So one of them is this set up a cancel. And that means that when the user taps it, do you want the notification to disappear automatically? If you don't set that, if you tap it, the notification is still going to be there, even though it has triggered your event. For some applications, it makes sense. But if you think about the music player has next, pause, play, forward buttons in the notification. When the user presses pause, you don't want them to quit the application and the notification to be gone. You want it to stay there. So depending on your app, you need to assess whether or not you actually need the notification to be gone automatically. Okay. If you want to add multiple buttons for things that will happen when you press, you just add an action where you specify the icon, the text, and then another intent. In this case, I actually put the same intent that I had in there, but you can actually have different intents. And if you think about the service that I mentioned before, where you use an intent to trigger a service, something to run on the background, or to launch an activity, you can put here, so for example, if I press archive, that's going to do something. If I press reply, that's going to do something else. Okay? And then you call build, and that's it. So this creates a notification that will fit whatever operating system the user is running on their phone. Okay? And then there's this class called Notification Manager on the Android, where you specify, okay, the notification is ready. I will give it an ID. Why is this ID here? So this ID here is because if you don't have that, that's the only way you have to identify your notification. So if you want to clear it later, you need to specify what is the notification ID that you want to clear. This is a number. So you can give it any number, basically. And then you can say notification manager cancel, and then your notification ID, and that will just make it disappear. Okay? Well, actually, I have it here. Yeah. Let's say you don't remember the notification ID. You can do this, cancel all, but if you do that, it's actually going to remove all the notifications the user had on the screen. That's a bad idea, okay? So ideally, this notifications ID should be a constant variable that you can always refer to on your code so that you don't have to remember what is this number, okay? So that's why I have them here in the uppercase, because that's how you do it in Java standards for a constant variable. So you just assign a number, int notification ID equals 1234, something like that, and then you can just say notification manager cancel notification ID. Okay. So I mentioned about the alert dialog. You can have up to 3 buttons on these alert dialogs. Here's an example of how you create one of those. And again, the same thing that happened with the notifications, the same thing happens with the alert dialogs. They look different depending on the operating system you have. And so Google had to create again this builder design pattern, and you do the same. So you have alert dialog, new alert dialog builder. So I told you that these alert dialogs normally are aligned with an activity, okay? Because these are showstoppers. So they are meant to prevent the user from making mistakes, to letting him know that something bad is about to happen, okay? Things like delete and yes, no, cancel, things like this. Or are you sure you want to do this? So here's an example, like for example, if you say negative, so if we put a button of the kind negative, you will notice that it actually is not on the right side, it's here. The reason for that is because the material design guideline says that positive actions always happens close to your thumb. Because it's what the people are less, it's more easy to press. If they want to hit the no, they need to stretch. So they are making a mental effort to actually go there to do it. Okay? So you need to be careful how you formulate your questions. Because if you say, are you sure you want to cancel, you want to delete this record? And if you say yes, and that is on the right side, you see what happens. Unless you want to make sure that that's the common thing you want to delete. But if you want to make sure, safeguard the user that, delete is going to be gone and there's consequences, you should make the confirmation to be the hardest action to put. Okay? So then in here you would say, I'm sure, and cancel, for example. Okay?
By the way,
yeah.
I'm right-handed, but I was wondering whether they have any support. It's support for left-handed people, so for the material design,
They do have support for.
left-handed.
Yeah.
For left-handed, that's not the.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, I get that's a valid question. I mean, they do have support for like Arabic countries where the actual interfaces are mirrored.
Yes.
But in your case, you still read from left to right, but you interact with your left. So I don't like that.
Left-handed people.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And then, so the positive normally stays here on the right, and that it will automatically assign it there to the right. And the neutral is normally here on the farthest end. And depending on what you press there, you can do multiple things. So what happens with these dialogues is that you need to control the state of the dialogue. Because some of these actions can actually be something that happens in the background that you're still looking at the same dialogue. So the dialogue is not automatically dismissed. Okay? And that's why I have it here, this dialogue dismissed. So when I tap that button, I want the dialogue to be gone after I press that button. Because if you don't do that, it will still be visible. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So those are alert dialogues. And the snack bar is like this. So basically, it's literally a bar that appears on the bottom of your screen on top of the buttons of your phone. This is funny because on my phone, I don't have this. And so this is always like almost a lot of the times hidden by my thumb. But that's a problem of my phone. But anyway. And that's how you do a snack bar. You create an instance, you set the message. The same way with the toast, you can specify for how long will the snack bar be visible. And you can add actions. So if you add an action, set action, you specify the text, and then what happens when you tap it. So if you tap here, this method gets called. And in this case, I'm just replacing the old snack bar with the new snack bar, saying the message was restored, and I show it. And then it will just overlap the other one. The other one disappears, this one appears. So this is an interesting way to keep the user up to date in terms of what's happening, where they can still have some control over. Okay? Yeah. Any questions regarding the snack bar or the alert dialog or notifications? No. Okay. And I think Yuki now has his side of the story for iOS. So carry on. I'll be a student now.
Okay. I'd like to talk about iOS side. So iOS side have lots of limitation to connect the applications. So then instead of the intent in Android, so iOS provide a URL scheme. So maybe this is very common way to connect the application. Maybe this is useful for maybe PC. For example, if you, so this is launch the mail application. So we just make a URL and call this method. They open this URL, so we can just this code we can open the mail application. So this is a header, there's a mail to, and this is URL, so we can open the app. So you can try it on your phone. So and also the another example, we can open the application setting application using this line of the URL. So some URLs Apple open this URL, so you can try this one. And some other application, for example, Twitter or Google, open this kind of URL scheme. So if you go to the Google developer page or Twitter developer page, you can find this URL. So for example, Twitter, you can tweet using this URL. New tweet this URL.
So in a way, this is the same thing as for us, this open intent. So in iOS, they have what calls this URL schema. So depending on the URL, so this format of the URL, the operating system will decide what is the action we need to do. In this case, the iOS side. Yeah.
So in the
you forgot to give me permissions to play the video.
Oh. Okay. Okay. It's okay.
Well, do you need the video?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Where's the?
It's here.
Did you first? Small hiccup here. All right. Okay.
Yep.
Did you give permission yet? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Yep. Sorry. Thank you for waiting. So, so this is one application for. So we can iOS provides some API for connect iOS related iOS original app. For example, this is connect to the
Camera.
yeah, camera app. What? So just push the here and open the camera. You can go to the camera and take a photo and back to here, and you can put that picture on here. So you can connect that application, but not everything. Maybe on Android, maybe you can connect everything. Not everything.
Well, not everything. I mean, the camera is a very typical example because people if they want to do like their own Twitter app, for example, or their own chat application, and they want to allow the users to take pictures and share those pictures with your friends, I think you save a lot of time when you just use whatever camera app they have on their phone because people are used to them. And they can take better pictures than if you have to implement yourself the camera app. So, yeah.
So for using this function on iOS, we have to use delegate function. Maybe I have described what is the delegate the first session, first class. But yeah, delegate is if you implement the delegate on this class, you can receive the take picture. You can receive the picture from the another application. So yeah, here is a UI image picker controller delegate, and you need two delegation for using a camera application for connect the camera application. The first is the image picker controller delegate and the delegation controller delegate. You have to implement two delegation, and also if you implement to delegate, you have to almost automatically you have to implement this one. It's image picker controller, and yeah, this is a little bit long one, but this is the key work. The finished picture, maybe blah blah. So if you finish to take a picture, the picture will deliver to this method, and you can use picture here.
So this is the analogous of an interface in Java. So basically, those delegates are callback that you need to implement in your class. So whenever the picture was taken or the navigation has changed, you need to handle that event. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing in Java. In Android, it's the same thing. So
yeah.
Another example would be, for example, if you wanted to share your current location with someone, you would not implement Google Maps. You can just call Google Maps so that Google Maps shows up, and you can say, okay, I am here, and then that location that you picked goes to your app.
Yeah.
So that's another example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
Yep.
Yep.
I think you need to, have someone. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So iOS also support a large function and multiplication function. So yeah. So this is an example of the alert. We did not have our post function on iOS, but we have a alert function. So the code is quite simple. So we just make a alert controller and just add buttons to the controller and just show the controller. So this is the function, and also each button we can set the button title here. Okay, so this is different alert math, and we can add some action inside the handler. For example, if you push the OK button, this handler is called. Also, if you push cancel button, the cancel handler is called. And And yeah, if you want to change a lot style or action style, you can change this style at the alert view controller. So this is a.
What is the default? The default is at the bottom one?
Default is this one.
Okay.
It's a lot. But you have to select this style here.
Preferred style on the top, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, style alert or action. You can choose.
Okay.
And also bottom is also you can choose. Default is a style default is a default button. But you can also select the style as cancel. Cancel means more or more thin.
Yeah.
Also, you can select delete or some other one. The red button will be allowed. So it means if you delete picture, it's very dangerous action. So in that case, you should select that one. So because the users easily understand, oh, this action is very dangerous or not. So this is the how can we make the alert and also notification. So we have a local notification and remote notification. Local notification means notification from the application in fact. And remote notification is notification from the server side. For example, if you are using Twitter, Twitter or Facebook, and if another person, another user,
text you.
Yeah, text you or push new image, post new article to the services, the server detects that action and send message to you. That is a remote notification. And local notification means that if you set the alarm on your phone, that case, for example, if you want to wake up at 6 a.m. And set alarm at 6 a.m. and notification local notification, you will just say local notification. So that is the looks is same, but the architecture is a little bit different. So on your smartphone, you can use local notification. So remote notification is a server-side stuff. So you can use local notification. So the local notification have three types of local notification. One is a calendar type, and the second is time interval, and last is location-based notification. So we have three types of notification. So first one is a calendar, and if you want to receive the notification with some daily base, for example, if you want to receive the not daily base, if you want to receive notification at this time, for example, reminder stuff in the calendar. If you set the some meeting schedule of the one day, for example, tomorrow you have to set the time in the one. But this one is a time interval notification. If you want to receive the so this is another way. First, you have to make a notification content. UM means user notification. UM means notification center, and set the title and body. Title is here, this bold message, and content body means this area is the content body. And after, you have to set the trigger. So you can select the what type you want. This one is using time interval notification, but if you want to use calendar, you should change the name to calendar here. Also location is also here. And that interval means for example, every 10 minutes or every 1 hour you can set the interval. And if you want to get the notification multiple times, you have to change this one to true.
But Android also has something similar. I didn't mention that, but you can actually set these repeated notifications. You can schedule it to be triggered at a specific time or date. You can also do that. And by default, if you don't specify any of that, it will show the notification as soon as you ask the notification manager to show it. So there's no delay. And the other thing is the sound. Like, does it make a beep? Does it just vibrate? Some phones have an LED to show you that there's a notification. So you can control that using the builder. So that with the builder, you can specify, does it vibrate? Does it make sound? What color is the LED when you get a message, for example, if the phone has RGB colors, you can do that. But of course, you don't know because it depends on each phone. So in general, most notifications actually just assume to trigger whatever is the default on the device, so they don't specify it, and then the builder itself will figure out what is the best way to notify the user, is it with sound or anything. Because if the user has set the phone to be silent, and then all of a sudden your notification says, I want sound, it will be with sound, so that might make people annoyed that your app is not respecting his preferences. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. This one is also same as a builder, so you can set up the old setting here. And finally, you just upload notification request to the notification center, so that you can make the notification. And in iOS, up to 10 or 11, we have a rich notification. And so this is notification. We can show the map, and we can reprise the message in here, and also video and audio and also calendar. We can show that kind of information on the notification. Yes. Also, we have our actions here. Yeah. And yes, we have some function, but we have some limitation to using this one. Maybe if you want to 1 hour video, it is impossible because the capacity of the maybe video size or is limited on the notification. But if you want to show some small video, for example, in this example for security camera and some machine, some camera recording the front of your house, and someone touched to your house the door, and automatically record video, just 10 minutes or 10 seconds or 5 seconds, and system send the notification to you with video. So this is one example.
Android also supports this. I didn't mention this, but you can actually customize the notification view for anything you want, basically. You can add pictures, you can add video, you can add audio, buttons, whatever. I don't know if it supports like embedding apps like that. Like, for example, I've never seen a notification that would show me, for example, Google Maps embedded in there. I've never seen that. Or the WhatsApp, for example. You can do a direct reply through the notification. So you can reply to the last message you got, but you cannot go back in time and see what are the messages you got there. You see? And that's something, for example, the iOS does well, because in there you can actually go back and see what was this chat and reply. Like, for example, the camera, I get from my security camera, I do get the snippets and I can see them on the notification itself. Voice call is the same. The calendar, no, actually. The calendar, I just get like, oh, you have an event now, and that's it. I cannot see like the whole day, for example, just from the notification. I need to tap it, and then it opens the calendar app, and then I can see. You see? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Very good. Is this short? Or?
Yeah, that was good. 5 minutes. This time we didn't go overboard. Okay.
Yes.
So that was the class for the multitasking. Think about this multitasking from the perspective of your project. Because, you know, we have this tendency to think that the user is only going to use our app. But in reality, that is not true. So they might use other apps while your app is going. So the best way to make an app or think about your app or your whatever you're going to build is think about it as integrating into the user's already multitasking world. So if you think about it like that, then it might make your app more usable for the user on the long run. Okay? I got an email from someone asking to talk about the project, that they were having some trouble coming up with some ideas. And I'm open for questions. If you have questions now, we can talk a bit until 10 if you want to discuss. Otherwise, we're done for today.
Is here anyone from Team Suan?
Team? From where?
Suan.
Suan.
C-Y-A-N.
We have some colors.
Ah, okay. I don't know. Okay. What is the project? What do you guys think?
Team is not team members has not found yet.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
That is what I asked.
Okay. Can you? Let's take a look at who those are, because if we can't get a hold of them, we need to fix that. Okay. Okay. Everything else, have you guys met already with the team members? Have you start thinking about what's going to be? Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys are free to leave if you want to, and we can talk more. Those who want to talk about the project.
One question. But they have like a complete list of sensors you have available for this.
Anything you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah. Wow. So it's So what we've done in the past is that if a team really has a compelling use case for a sensor, and if you need it, we buy it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So the list is available on the internet.
Yes, exactly. As long as it's like 1,000 euros or something like that, it's ridiculous. But I mean, if it's something like an Arduino or anything like that, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because our topic might be related to Steam, so we might look something like weatherproof.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Let me just. Okay.